So you know how in recipes there's an estimated amount of time it'll take to cook? Like 5 minutes of prep work, 15 minutes of cooking, but in reality it takes you 3 hours and all you have to speak for are 2 raviolis. No, just me? Anyways, today I'll be making my favorite banana bread recipe, but within a time limit. Which is convenient since I have a Zoom meeting in 20 minutes and the prep time is 15. Now be sure to waste some of your precious time by searching for bowls to put your wet and dry ingredients in. Melt your half a cup or 1 stick of unsalted butter in the microwave, or any choice of oil will do really. Coconut oil works fine, vegetable canola, whatever you got really. In the meantime, massage your bag of flour so it won't spill out everywhere when you try and open it, but still end up making a floury mess because it was bound to happen anyways. Measure out 1 3/4 cup of flour into the large mixing bowl. Add the 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and if you're feeling a little bit spicy, a pinch of nutmeg. But not too much because it can cause hallucinations. Then mix together the dry ingredients. Add your 1/4 cup white sugar and half cup of brown sugar to the wet ingredients bowl. My brown sugar was as hard as a rock, so just heat it up a bit to resolve that issue. Once the butter and sugar are creamed together, peel 3 overripe bananas and mash them in with the wet ingredients. Overripe bananas work best because the browning of the banana is actually the breaking down of the starch into sugar, which makes it therefore sweeter. If your bananas aren't ripe, then bake them in the oven for a little bit till the skin browns and blackens. Just don't let them burn. Crack 2 eggs into the wet ingredients bowl, and then mix until combined. Then add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, or imitation vanilla in my case. Once the wet ingredients are thoroughly incorporated, add them to the dry. Just be sure to mix until combined. Basically no more streaks of flour, otherwise you'll get a dense, chewy bread instead of a light, cakey texture. Then fold in the 3/4 cup of chocolate chips. You could add chopped walnuts, peanut butter, or any other mix-ins you like at this point. Then take out your loaf pan. That is if you can find it. No. Well, it's not in any of the cabinets. Maybe it's in the garage? You definitely have a loaf pan, but since you moved 1,000 miles away and have yet to unpack all of your things, finding this loaf pan will be hard to do. After a bit of manual labor, though, it seems the loaf pan has been located. After you wash off the loaf pan a little bit, line the sides of it with parchment paper, as well as oil the rest of the pan. In my case, I used non-stick spray, but any sort of oil will work just fine. You can also add a little dusting of flour if you're really afraid of it sticking. Then pour in the banana bread batter. Then evenly distribute the remaining 1/4 cup of chocolate chips on top. Then take the pan and place it into a oven preheated to 350 degrees.
So.
One Zoom meeting later. After 50 to 60 minutes of baking, remove the banana bread from the oven and insert a knife or a toothpick into the center, and if it comes out clean, then the banana bread's done. Leave the banana bread out for 10 or so minutes to cool a little bit, and then once it's cooled a small amount, run a knife around the sides in order to loosen it from the pan, and then transfer the banana bread over to a wire rack to cool completely. And in my case, since I don't have an actual wire rack, remove it from your nearby toaster oven, but since you don't want to wash the wire rack, use a bit of parchment paper to cover up with the crusty wires. which I think makes the wire rack obsolete. So cut some slits into the parchment paper as well. And then leave the banana bread to cool. Once the banana bread is cooled completely, slice into it and serve.